My name is Shavonnah Schreiber, and I'm here today to talk to you about social media and what are the things you need to keep in mind by platform to make sure that you're optimizing your marketing content. So, love it or hate it, social media is the primary medium that we are using in business and for personal reasons to communicate out a particular message. So that said, let's talk about the different platforms that exist and what, in my opinion, are the things that businesses need to keep in mind as they engage with them. So Pinterest, when it initially started, was primarily a platform that was used for very visual idea capture, and so you would hear things like people say, let's start a vision board about a particular project, and they would go to Pinterest to search up images for that vision board. And I still think that that's the way that Pinterest is used a lot today. However, it has expanded. So Pinterest is also, if you've noticed, used for shopping. So right now, for example, if you were to go on Pinterest and you found a lovely couch because you're looking to redo your living room, you could not only pin that couch to your board, but you could, within that platform, click to go to the website of the company who sells that couch and actually purchase the couch. So that's a way that Pinterest has sort of optimized their platform around going deeper than just being able to look at images. So what does that mean for a business? If you're a business and you're selling a product that is very visual in nature, then Pinterest is probably a platform that you want to use. And a way to optimize your business's presence on Pinterest would be to do exactly what I've mentioned, making sure that not only can people pin the products that you sell, but that you allow them to very easily be able to go to your website to purchase those products. Businesses, in my opinion, probably don't have a lot of space necessarily on Snapchat, but it depends on your business, and maybe you do, right? It depends on the product or service you have. The thing to keep in mind with Snapchat is it's pretty personal in nature, and by that I mean the chats on Snapchat only last for a certain amount of time, and then they disappear. If you take a particular action, so if you screenshot or if you try to do any sort of sharing, the person who posted it or the business who posted it is notified, which is why, in my opinion, generally speaking, I think for businesses, Snapchat is a platform that you should probably not necessarily need to invest a lot of time in, just because I don't think that that's where most consumers of any product or service are going to try to learn more about your business or to engage with your brand. If you have a company or a product or service that really is focused on building a community or maintaining a community, then Facebook might be one of the best platforms for you, because Facebook really has sort of hung its hat on this idea of the ability to aggregate people into communities across the globe. So depending on your product or service, Facebook could be the platform to use because content is very shareable. If you have a particular product or service that you want to build a community around, you can even make that community a private community, or there could be a spin-off from that. So again, if it's Facebook, remember people are using Facebook in more of a personal way than maybe some of the other platforms, and it really does have a community focus. So keep that in mind. As one of my colleagues says, Facebook is sort of like a yearbook or like a family photo album. So think about it that way. So TikTok seems to be the most growing or the hippest platform, it feels to me anyway. And so what are people using TikTok for? And as a business, what are the ways you can engage with it? So by and large, it feels like TikTok is a place now that is becoming a bit of a search engine. So for example, going to visit a new town and you're looking for restaurants. A lot of people have started to put reviews from restaurants or from hotels or from all sorts of businesses on TikTok. So you would go into TikTok, into the search bar, and instead of searching for like the latest dance move, you search for Thai food in Austin, for example. And what you would get, what would be returned to you, would be all of the reviews that have been listed and posted by TikTokers around whatever their experience has been at a variety of Thai restaurants. So thinking about TikTok as from a business standpoint as another search engine, almost like another Google or another Safari in that way. And so as a business, you have to think, well, does your business, is it best suited for things like that? I mean, so if you're a restaurant, then I would say TikTok is definitely a place that you might want to be. But maybe if you're a marketing agency, maybe not, unless you're showcasing your ability to manage a community within TikTok. The other thing to keep in mind about TikTok is that the content or the timeline moves quickly. So your ability to make reels is very short. and the content's going to move quickly, so you have to create and produce a lot of content. So before deciding to invest in that platform, be sure that you have the resources and the time, human resources and time resources, to invest in creating content to stay fresh. So Instagram, I would say, is still the primary platform for very visual content. The way the feed is set up and the way the feed is structured, it moves quickly, not too different from, let's say, TikTok. However, you have ability to create longer video content, longer reels, etc., and very visual in nature. So if you were to go from a person's Instagram profile and to scan out to see their full grid, you can see even a message within, a bigger grid, for example. So depending on your business and depending on your product or service, if it's very visual in nature, then I would say Instagram is definitely a platform that you should consider and you should lean into. YouTube is still the primary platform for video content and live streaming content. Also, YouTube is a bit of a search engine. So for example, like with, say, for example, TikTok for restaurant reviews, a lot of people use YouTube to search how-to or educational content. So depending on your business and the product or service you offer, if it's one that is very educational in nature, or if you have the ability to do how-to videos, or maybe even behind the scenes, depending on the type of work that you do, YouTube would be a platform that I would definitely encourage you to lean into, because, say, for example, someone is looking to build a backdrop. They'll probably go to YouTube to search first because they want to be able to visually see how to do that. So I still believe that LinkedIn is the primary platform to be used for professional content. Although lately it feels like it's trending more into the community and slightly social by virtue of some of the content that is being posted. But for the most part, it still is the primary professional network and platform for most people. So if your product or service is one that is definitely geared toward a more professional audience, then I would say YouTube is a platform that you should lean into more. And some things to keep in mind on there is that content actually lives long on YouTube. And by that I mean, if you post something today, the chances that someone who logs on, say, in 3 days is going to see it is actually pretty high. That's not the case if you were to post that same content on Instagram or even Facebook. So if you have content that you believe can last a bit longer, has a bit longer shelf life, and is not as snackable as content that might be better for TikTok or Instagram, I would say LinkedIn is definitely a platform that you should lean into. So Twitter is used mostly as a news feed. So think about Twitter as like a news aggregate. So most organizations, most people actually, use Twitter as a way to go and see sort of what's happening in the world, what's the latest news. The timeline moves very quickly, so it's almost like a ticker that you would see on the bottom of a screen. So when you're thinking about, from a business perspective, whether or not Twitter is the right platform to you, keep that in mind. Content that you post that on Twitter is content that's going to move pretty quickly. So much like TikTok and much like Instagram, making sure that you have the human resources and the time to be able to produce a lot of content so you stay up to date, you stay relevant, and you stay in the feed no matter what time the person is choosing to engage with your content. So with that being said, as I mentioned, social media looks like it's going to be here for a while, and definitely are platforms that we all have to engage in from a business perspective. So I really think that the primary point I want to drive home today is deciding which, or understanding how to choose which platform is the right one for your business, because we only have 24 hours in a day, and it's not necessarily the best strategy to try to be on all of the platforms depending on the type of product or service that you provide. So making sure that as you're thinking through your social media strategy and you're thinking through which platforms you want to lean into, that you keep these things in mind, sort of the intent of the platform, the type of people and the audiences that the platforms tend to attract, and let that be your guide in deciding which one is best for your business. And as always, we would love to hear from you in the comments. So if you're doing things that are interesting on any of these platforms and you want to share, please do.